Welcome back to the show. I'm David Nelson, your host for the Traders Network. Today's show is being broadcast worldwide for iHeartRadio and CBS. We're here at the Harvard Club in downtown New York City for the annual leadership gala of the New York Global Leaders Dialogue. My next guest is Martha Hall Findlay. She served as a member of the Canadian Parliament, and of course today serves as the Chief Legal Officer of Enstream. But one more thing she's done and does, she's the Director of the Digital Economy Program at the School of Public Policy. I wasn't sure I was going to get that right. She also sits on the Advisory Council of the New York Global Leaders Dialogue, and the reason we're here today. Martha, it's finally a pleasure to meet you. Welcome.
It's really nice to meet you. Great to be here.
I want to dive into some of what's going on here at Global Leaders and your role within the organization. But before I do, I want to share something with the audience. Martha is a former silver medalist in skiing. Now, what I want to know, and what I think our audience wants to know, is how do you go from the slopes, the ski slopes, to the House of Commons?
Oh, well, there are a few years in between. So, a law degree and some business experience and then diving into politics. But athletics, I wasn't going to talk about this, but it's a really important thing when you do something, an individual sport like skiing. You can only do it when you're part of a team, and sure. I know that sounds really cliche, but it's wonderful life experiences that in fact help very much when you are in a political environment.
From what I can read, and correct me if I'm wrong, this wasn't handed to you. You've done it all. You've done everything. You've been a waitress. You've been a carpenter, a ski race coach, all while finishing law school. What was the passion to go into law? I
really think that it was to accomplish something. And I think that was what I ended up going into politics for too. And it's one of the reasons I'm involved in the New York Global Leaders Dialogue. You need people, you need key decision makers to make good decisions, and they need to be based on the best evidence possible. You want them to be doing so with a view to having the most peaceful, prosperous, generous, sustainable societies that we can have around the world. And so you need people to do that. And going to law school seemed like a pretty obvious place to start. Sure. I only ever really saw that as a stepping stone.
Let's dive into the NYGLD. One of the key missions of the Global Leaders Dialogue is to bring young leaders together with those people like yourself, people who've done it, people who've lived in the world and made a difference in society and have learned firsthand. How do you view your role within the organization to help achieve that end?
Well, in today's political climate, and I'm Canadian, I'm not going to lie to you, we kind of look south of the border and shake our heads a little bit at what we see down here. The hyper-partisanship is really quite something, and it's always been this way, but it's aggravated now by mass communication and media communication. And you see people in key decision-making positions who don't have time to think, who don't have time to really debate, really reflect on issues. I mean, we're in a 24-hour cycle, a news cycle. And so if you want to have really good, strong leaders who have character and principle, the best way to have that in the future is to have those young leaders today have the chance to spend time and learn from and be with current extraordinary leaders. And that's what the New York Global Leaders Dialogue does. And it's a terrific, terrific organization.
New York Global Leaders, I believe, is 2 years old just last month. When you look back over that time, is there anything in particular that you can point to, something that you thought we did it right?
I'm just amazed at how much has been done so far and how quickly the organization has grown into something of real influence. And even if you only affect a few of these young leaders who will be the real leaders of the future, I mean, they're leaders now, for goodness sake. I mean, look at some of the accomplishments of some of these younger people. Then we're doing good. We're doing a good job.
I think you're doing a pretty good job already. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
We've been talking with Martha Hall Findlay, and she's on the Advisory Council of the New York Global Leaders Dialogue. Thanks for joining today. By the way, a quick thank you goes out to 1-800 Public Relations for all the PR and media support. Thanks again for joining. I'm David Nelson.